In this video, let's discuss about the SSAS interview question, what is refresh option? Or the same question will be twisted and asked in such a way like um, how you can get the structural changes that has been done to your SQL Server database or underlying database data warehouse into your SSAS project or SSAS data source view. Which means, let's say you have 10 tables that are used in your SSAS design, and one of the table is changed or relationship between the tables are changed in your underlying data warehouse, and if you want to reflect the same changes into your analysis service, or if you want to bring those changes into your analysis services, what's the best way to do that? So this is most important interview question, because at first step no one can design the data warehouse 100% perfectly, so there will be changes coming and going. So it's always important to bring those changes into your analysis service projects, and this is most frequently used option if the underlying data warehouse is not stable or is not frozen. Okay, now let's see. The option which we use for the same is refresh, and you can find the refresh option in here in the data source view. When you right click on the empty pane of the data source view, you can find the option refresh. So if you click on refresh, it will take all the objects that have used in this data source view. For example, in this data source view, you have used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, somewhat around 8 tables. Okay, and one name query. Forget about the name query because it is not an object of your underlying data warehouse. It's an object of your data source view which we have created, right? It will not have any impact in the underlying database. So it takes all these 8 tables and it will take the metadata and it will compare it with the SQL Server and it will check for the changes. So if there is any change, then it will list the change here, right? Now there is no change in the data warehouse compared to the objects that I have in my data source view. So it's not displaying any changes here. So what you need to explain to the interviewer here is how the changes and what are those changes that will be pulled as part of this refresh. For example, if you go back to SQL Server, let me take team customer table. For example, alter table name, add test varchar of 100. So I just altered the table dim customer. What I've done is I've added a column. So if I take it here and if I try to select the table, select star from dim customer, and you can see the table, you can see the column that has been added to the dim customer table. Now this is a change in the underlying data warehouse for one of the object that is used that's been added to the data source view. Now what will happen if I right click on it? When I click on when I click on refresh here, it will take all these objects and it will compare and it will bring the changes that has been made to your data warehouse tables or data warehouse objects. Now in this case, it is taking, okay, one object is modified and the object name is dim customer and the column, that is, what is the change? The change is added. So once it displays all the changes that has been done into your data warehouse objects, then you just have to click OK, then it will bring the change into your analysis service data source view. And you can see the test column is here. And the beauty about this option is it will not disturb the calculated columns that you have created on the same object. For example, the change has been done to the customer table, and this customer table already had 4 calculated columns or named calculations, which was not disturbed due to the refresh option that I have selected, right? This is one beautiful advantage of using the refresh. And what kind of changes it can bring? It can bring the column changes, adding, removing, or data type change, blah, blah, blah. And it also gets the relationships missing, or if any new relationship is added between two objects. For example, there are relationship between these two in the underlying data source, right? Between the dim promotion, and this is a named query. Forgot about that. Between the dim time and the fact internet sales, there are 3 relationships. One is for order date, one is for due date, and one is for ship date. These 3 columns are related to the dim date in the database, but it is not available here. I removed it intentionally just to show you the option refresh in the data source view. So if I click on refresh option here, it is showing that Okay, between this dim date and the fact written, it says the relationship is missing. If I click on OK, then it will add the relationships. It will not touch the objects that you have created in the data source view, like the named calculations and the named queries. So the relationship here is not updated because this has been changed. This is not a table anymore. This is a named query, and the named query is limited to the data source view. It will not. It's not an object of your SQL's underlying data warehouse. So this is one advantage. These are the changes that you can bring when by using the refresh option. And the disadvantage, or I can say that the option that I don't like in this refresh option is, for example, if I have 10 changes, 1, 2, this is I've removed in the data source view. That means that is a change. It is available in the database. Okay, and I've removed all this stuff. That means there are a lot of changes, and also drop column test. I've dropped the column. So this is one more change. So if I refresh it, if I click on refresh option, it will bring all the changes, including the column drop. This column is deleted. This relationship is added. I can't pick a particular change by using the refresh option. You understood what I mean? For example, if I want to apply only this test column removal, but not the relationships, I don't want to bring those relationships. Or let's say you have 10 changes that has been brought up by this wizard. You have to take either full or null. If you click on cancel, nothing will be applied or no changes will be pulled into your data source view. If you click on OK, all the changes will be pulled. I hope you understood what I'm trying to say here. So that's not a disadvantage. That's the option that I don't like. There will be a lot of changes, schema changes that will be happening in the data warehouse. But if you want to test only one particular dimension or one particular fact table, then you can't do that by pulling only the particular change. The only way that you can do is by removing the object and adding it back. For example, like deleting this dim customer and adding the dim customer again will bring the change for only that object. In that particular case, you don't need to use a refresh. What you need to do is you have to delete the object and you have to add the object back, which is a lot of hectic job, or the job that people don't like, particularly in designing huge data warehouse, SSAS cubes. Okay, because it will have impact on the objects like dimensions, relationships, and also the cubes. That is why people don't like to delete and add it back. So this is about the refresh option and the answers that you can give for the question asked by the interviewer about the refresh option in the SSAS data source view. Hope you understood, and stay tuned for more videos on SSAS, SSAS, and SSRS interview questions. Thank you. Bye-bye.